Good, good afternoon, everyone, or good morning, I guess, depending on what coast you're on. I'm coming in from the East Coast today, so made it past the first half of the day, ready to power through the second half. Mark, can you remind me again, where are you coming from today?
I'm in Celebration, Florida.
That's right, you're also in Florida. I'm over in the Lakeland area, but I do love taking my trips over to Celebration when I get the opportunity. It's a fun area.
And it's a beautiful day today.
It is. It's not too hot outside, which I'm enjoying. Florida summer is about to kick off, and if any of you have been to Florida in the summer months, it's not the best time.
No. We had family in town this last weekend and went to Disney, and it was a little bit warm, a little bit toasty, but much nicer today.
Absolutely. Got to take in every bit of spring weather while we can before we're in the 90s and humidity's at 100% and it's raining three
Hmm.
times a day.
Yep.
I'll give just a minute for everyone to get logged on. If you guys want to drop in the chat where you're coming from today, I'd love to see where people are logging in from.
Yeah, and I would love for folks to get used to using the chat in Zoom. So yeah, please tell us where you're at, and would love for you to participate as much as you care to try to make this session as interactive as possible. Considering it's virtual, but we try to engage everybody. All right, got New Jersey, Tennessee, Florida. Florida is well represented. Illinois, Chicago. That's where I'm from originally. All the way out in Hawaii. I like it.
We got a good spread of people from all across the country today. Exciting.
Green
Awesome.
Bay.
Well, I'm enjoying the
Nice.
Midwestern representation. I'm a native Minnesotan, so I get happy anytime I see Midwesterners showing up.
Yeah,
Well, we've
hater.
given it we've given it a minute. Let's go ahead and kick things off. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Danny Clough. I'm the channel marketing coordinator over here on the QGIve team. Today, I'm joined by Mark Becker from Cathexis Partners, who's going to be sharing how you can optimize your peer-to-peer fundraising lifecycle. Don't forget, today's webinar is eligible for 1 credit of CFRE continuing education. So if you're working through that credential, please take advantage of that. A few house notes before we begin today. We are recording to today's webinar, so you will be receiving an email tomorrow afternoon with a link to the recording, the slides, as well as a few additional free resources. And then if you want to chat with Mark and I throughout, or any of your peers on the webinar today, you can put those comments into the chat box, as many of you have already found. And if you have any questions, please use that Q&A area in Zoom, and then we'll get to those at the end of the webinar during a little Q&A session. If you're having trouble with the Q&A area, you can also put those in the chat and I'll make note of those for Mark. As many of you may have noticed, in January, QGIve did join the Bloomerang team to create a modern giving platform that puts relationships at the heart of fundraising. This combined solutions unifies your donors' activities, giving you the power to acquire new donors, cultivate impactful relationships, and maximize the potential of your donor communities. So we're super excited about this new opportunity. I'd also like to take the opportunity to share with you our wonderful partner network over here at QGIve. One of those partners, of course, being Cathexis Partners. They work to help nonprofits set up and use technology to raise funds and engage with supporters more effectively. If you're not a QGIve customer, you can find more of those partners on our website under Partners on the QGIve page. And then if you are a customer in the help desk, you have access to our partner directory and you can find more about our partners there. And of course, today's speaker, Mark Becker. Mark founded Cathexis Partners back in 2008 and has been helping so many nonprofits utilize technology to reach their fundraising goals ever since. He can tell you so much more about the extensive work that he's done than I can even cover. So I'll hand things over so he can kick things off for us today.
Awesome. Thanks, Danny. Looks like I have to wait until you stop sharing before I can share mine.
Yeah. There we go. Sorry about that.
Nope, all good. Let me jump in. All right. Let's talk about the peer-to-peer fundraising life cycle. You might see this defined different ways. This is how we've defined it, and open to, again, anybody as throughout this presentation, I'm going to be referring back to chat. It is set up so I'm just talking at you, right? That's the power, that's the setup, that's the premise of Zoom. But I do want to make this as interactive as possible because you all bring years of experience, or maybe new to this and have questions and have ideas. So want to make sure we bring in everybody's perspective on this. So thank you for being engaged. I'm going to say that in advance because I trust you will be. All right. So how we define the peer-to-peer fundraising life cycle starts with recruitment, right? Getting people to register, inspiring and enabling them through motivating them participants once they register to raise funds and give them the tools they need to succeed, which is grow their team sizes if they're a team captain or a member of a team, or raise more funds, or both, right? And get other people to register as part of their team or as individuals, right? Really enabling them to and coaching them to become um, um, kind of volunteer fundraisers, right? And then retain them. How do you keep them throughout the campaign, but also year over year, and potentially within the same campaign, and move them up the ladder, moves management them into ongoing annual returning fundraisers, participants, and maybe even monthly givers, maybe even major donors, right? Over time. How do you? But again, it's all about retaining them and hopefully turning them back into recruitment the next year, and giving them new tools and having them share their experiences and just keeping that entire cycle going, right? So let's talk about the first area. And here's 7 tips for recruiting more participants. And again, in chat, would love to hear any other ideas or any perspective you have on this, starting with this right here. Create a powerful message, right? Tell them, and I would love you to put in chat, what makes your organization unique, right? What impact are we having, your organization, on the mission? How are you affecting, improving things, making things better, supporting, helping find a solution, whatever your mission might be, right? What photos or images best reflect your impact on the mission? And the event itself, right? And so often, especially when you're starting out a campaign, I might bring this up a couple different times, but you might not have any images that really represent the the emotion, the feeling, the whole vibe of the campaign. If you're having a physical event that you expect to see there, so second year, hopefully you have the first year photos. Of that event, but quite often we have to go to stock photography, or have in the past had to go to stock photography. Well, now with AI, generative AI, you can use things like Dolly in ChatGPT, and other tools to generate images. So you can put in a message and say, create an image for an event, a fundraising event, or a 5K walk or run, and use these colors, and the more you can define that prompt, the better image you're going to get out of it. So I would say, I also want to throw in there, when you think about photos or images, think about AI as another way of potentially, instead of using stock photos, maybe creating something completely unique and custom for your specific campaign or mission, right? How is our peer-to-peer campaign solving a problem? What is this campaign doing to help the mission and the whole organization as a whole, right? How do we want people to feel about our mission and campaign, right? Do they sad, inspired, angry? Um, you know, what is the tone you're going for? What will the funds raised help our organization accomplish, right? Are you going to create a new building? Are you raising funds, overall, to a larger campaign, to the overall mission? What exactly is it going to accomplish? What is the goal, right? How can participants help us reach that? So helping break it down, that message. And again, some of this is really fundamental stuff, but always important to kind of review and think about with fresh eyes and ears every season. How can participants help reach that goal, and how does their 200 or 100 fundraising goal help the organization when they need $500,000. And we'll talk about showing that power of the individual and the reach that you can make throughout all of this, right? That's the whole point of peer-to-peer, is not just getting one major gift from one location or one sponsor, one individual or one company, but through the power of the crowd helping fundraise, right? And then what compelling statistics can we include? Like the funds raised last year went to this. The average person raised that. Yeah, how much of this you want to share publicly might be determined by different factors. But if you can tie it back to the mission and um, what the what the organization did with those funds and how every $10 accomplished X, gave a meal to a family, or $100 provided this service to an individual, or provided a place for a dog in need, or a pet in need. I'm a dog guy, but I guess it could be a cat. Sorry for the cat lovers out there. But basically, what are you doing to help uh, having those statistics, those numbers tie back to real things? Right? Make your story easy. Is it easy to understand? Your messaging from the organization should make it obvious why your organization has launched this campaign in the first place. What are you looking to do? And what do you want people to do, right? And then it should be easy to share that, right? To convey that message. You may be solving a really complicated problem, but your message should be really simple as possible. You should package that up so that participants can easily explain it to others. Because at the end of the day, peer-to-peer fundraising is all about the participants that probably know you to some degree, or have a friend that know you and your organization and have gotten involved. But those donors and the friends that don't know you, are friends of constituents of yours, help explain to them what you do, why you do it, and why your mission is important, and why their support is necessary, right? And then find easy ways to share it. Make sure you have the right tools, like QGive. It has a variety of tools in their suite, their peer-to-peer fundraising tools and beyond, that make it easy for you to share out and have your participants share out suggested messages, so they can email their friends, pages, personal pages and team pages, so they can share their message and why they're involved, and how the mission affects them, and why they're fundraising on that behalf. So make sure, and then just general fundraising tools and tips, like posters and logos and offline donation forms, that make it really easy for folks to be able to fundraise on your behalf. Okay. And then even from the beginning, you should be looking at your data, right? Even in the recruitment first phase of the life cycle, review funds raised based on top fundraisers connected to your organization. And that could be past participants if it's a legacy event, or it could be just general fundraisers in your organization if it's a brand new campaign and you want to really invite those people and customize your message to them. Use the data from previous campaigns to add personal notes, like, for example, thank you for raising $10,000 last year, or thank you for raising $50 last year. And really hope you can come back and support us again this year. You made a huge difference. Here's what we did. Here's some analytics. Here's the funds raised, and here's what we've done with that money, right? Or thank you for being one of our top 50 fundraisers from last year. Those personal shout outs, and you can, segment your audience, figure out who the top fundraisers were, top 50, top 100, top 20 largest teams, whatever it might be, and reach out to those people in bulk or individually, and thank them, and they will appreciate it. That will make a difference. And we'd love to have folks share in the chat any examples of how you've personalized messaging, segmented, or larger groups, or personalized individual communications with folks to really give them a shout out. It's all about making people feel seen and validated for the work that they're putting in, right? So again, build targeted recruitment emails, segment your audience, and tailor messages based on past participation, past team membership, right? Maybe reach out to your past team captains first when a new season comes along and say, hey, we're about ready to launch this thing. Have a sneak preview and feel free to register early, and here's a discount code. Ask for your most active fundraisers to ask their friends to sign up. Hey, you've been such an inspiration. You've really raised a ton, and you've brought folks into the campaign previously. Why not invite 10 people to join you this year on your team, walk alongside of you, be involved, whatever it might be. Send to your entire audience. Mention it in a newsletter, right? Or it might be a specific recruitment email. Always obviously have to keep in mind your overall communications calendar and making sure you're always competing with other areas of the organization, regardless of your size. And messaging is important, and you don't want to spam people or make them feel like they're being spammed by an organization. But if you can have those dedicated, unique recruitment emails, announcements at least once a season, that is definitely preferred. But also include them in monthly newsletters, etc. And as much as possible, again, as much as you want to recognize people for the things they have done, don't send them messages, right, to register if they've already registered. And don't maybe send a discount code for people that have already registered to share with other people so that they can join them. So just, again, ways to really customize and make people feel like they're being seen. If you just kind of blatantly blanket your entire audience and say, come register for this thing, and a percentage of them have already, they're going to feel a bit, confused, possibly annoyed potentially, or even concerned that they're not registered and need to go back and verify that that did happen. So just really be clear on your communications and segment. Consider doing a soft launch, right? Ask your staff, board members, and maybe again your top team captains, your top fundraisers, invite them to a soft launch. Because then when other people, the general communications goes out, or when people just come across the campaign, they'll see that it already has interest and it's already has registrants and fundraisers, and they'll want to be more compelled to join in since it's already active. A soft launch can also help identify bugs or issues or confusion in the registration process or the donation process. So before you open it up to the larger audience, it gives you a little beta testing, basically a chance to have folks to kick the tires and see if there are any issues with it and adjust accordingly, right? Reach beyond your email list, right? I've been talking about email, but social media, SMX, I don't think I mentioned that in any of the slides, but text messaging is becoming more and more popular. So never hesitate to consider that channel if it's available to you and you have an option to reach out to your participants and past participants in your general website. At other events, maybe you're having a gala, mention your upcoming peer-to-peer campaigns, either, and I've been talking a lot about physical campaigns, but it could be a DIY, a virtual campaign, a third-party peer-to-peer campaign. It could be a variety of different campaigns. It doesn't have to be a physical event, but even if it is just kind of an evergreen DIY, fundraise your own way type of campaign, advertise that at your galas, at your other events, and have signage and maybe something on the table for folks to remember that it's there, right? Because especially when it comes to DIY campaigns, it's you hear the phrase "if you build it, they will come" from Field of Dreams, but that's definitely not true of DIY fundraising peer-to-peer campaigns. Having the tool there is great, and some people may trip across it in being involved and engaged with your mission, but they may not be compelled to really get involved. And that's why you really have to mentor them and coax them and remind them that it's there. And then again, get into the coaching of making it easy to fundraise. Consider, public service announcements. Obviously, if you have the budget for that, maybe partnering up with local news stations if possible. I know here in Central Florida, Central Food Bank of Central Florida has a partnership with WESH 2, our C affiliate. Every year they get up and have a telethon around the holidays, and do a lot with peer-to-peer fundraising, and that partnership is really successful, and they raise a lot of funds in general, but with their partnership with WESH, they really exponentially increase those funds raised. So it's a great example of working with your local partners, right? Look at other groups. It doesn't have to be a huge spend, right? Definitely get more ingrained with your sponsors, right, for your campaigns. I put the example here. See if you can visit the company to let their employees know about your campaign, but it could go much deeper than that or different variations of that. Again, I would ask anybody that has any ideas or anything that they've done in the past when working with their peer-to-peer sponsors, how have you kind of further ingrained yourself or enriched that partnership by reaching out and maybe potentially going to the company and doing a lunch and learn, or along with a newsletter, inclusion in companies' internal communications, really finding new ways to connect with the employees at your sponsors' organizations, right? There'll be a certain number that will be engaged and want to participate or feel compelled to participate, encouraged to participate, if you will, by management. And we'll do that. But see if you can even extend that further by being a voice for your organization, for your mission, and having it heard firsthand. I think make that go even further. And again, if you have any other examples of that or ideas, feel free to put that in the chat. I'm not seeing a whole lot of, I'm seeing a lot of where people are from, but I'm not seeing a whole lot of input yet or ideas, and that's fine in the chat. But if you do have any, would love for you to share them. Visit or call shops near your event location, right? Again, if this is a physical event or even just locally, are there other companies, stores that kind of tie to your mission or tie to the cause? Or maybe it's a 5K and there's some running shops, shoe stores, athletic gear around you. Reach out to them and see if you can kind of get those folks involved, offer up, see if they're going to be sponsors, see if there's any way that they can be involved. And then again, rinse and repeat with schools, churches, local groups, scouts, fraternities, right, are always great for this type of thing. They might not raise the most funds, but they'll definitely be very energetic, bring a lot of life to the event. And I don't want to discriminate. They might raise a fair amount or have their contacts raise funds on your behalf. Everybody knows going to college is expensive enough these days, and beer's not free. So priorities, people. But they definitely can reach a larger audience and bring some new blood and some new interest to your organization. So definitely reach out to those different groups and get them involved in participating, in supporting, in volunteering. Here's a good one. We get sponsors for groups that may have barriers to successfully fundraising. For the sake of diversity, connect with sponsors and with the organization. So thanks, Susanna. So definitely I like that idea, right? Don't go to just who you're comfortable with or who your defaults might be. Make sure you're thinking about the entire community as a whole, and reach out to those folks. I love that. Um, Betsy says sometimes partnering with other local nonprofit organizations can be an option. I love that. Orgs can complement your mission, right? You probably have a network, and sometimes you might look at some of these other organizations as competition almost, but when that isn't the case, and you actually can have supporting interests and kind of complementary missions, definitely team up with them, and they return the favor, I'm sure. Those are great ideas, great comments. Make registration easy, right? I always have to include some version of this slide. Keep the number of online form fields to a minimum. Don't ask things you don't need to know. There's triggering things these days that you might be asking out of habit that you don't really need to know. Like if you're having a virtual campaign, do you need to ask gender, for example, or age? And if it's age, it probably is for a physical event and to really denote whether or not someone's a minor. So there's ways that you can ask those things more generally, if at all. But just make sure you're, thinking about and reviewing your registration form to see if it's even necessary, and explain how you're going to use their data. You're not going to ever sell their data, hopefully. You don't plan to selling their data. They can unsubscribe at any time. But also include in the registration flow that celebratory language of, we're doing this. Thank you so much for doing this. We're going to do this thing together. It's all for this great mission, and just reiterating why they're going through this process in the first place. And then hopefully you're using a tool like YouGive that makes it really easy to register and not a huge barrier, right? Let's get into, and again, as we continue through here, feel free to add any other ideas you have about recruitment or questions you have about the recruitment process. But we're going to move into now enabling folks to fundraise on your behalf, right? How do you inspire and enable them? And sometimes coaching isn't just in the fundraising side. Sometimes they're doing an endurance event, right? Maybe they're running a marathon on your behalf at Disney or somewhere. Maybe you're hosting your own marathon. There's a physical coaching to that as well. So that might be part of your communications. And I will be the first one to say that not every email should be about an ask for them to raise funds or donate or do more fundraising. Sometimes you're just going to share information. Don't always just beat them over the head with the same message of donate, fundraise, get more people to fundraise. It goes beyond all of that, right? But to that end, in your registration flow, regardless of your platform you're using, if you're using QGive or whatever your peer-to-peer fundraising platform is, the primary purpose of the registration is, of course, to register, right? So once that stops, you should really help feed them into the next process, through the process of fundraising. Hopefully, during registration, you were able to ask or give them the option to provide an additional donation at the time of registration. And you may or may not charge a registration fee. So that might be the only transaction is the additional donation at time of registration, along with asking them, what their fundraising goal is. And all those things are part of the registration flow normally. But once you get done, then you should make it really, they land on their thank you page or confirmation page, right? There should be a link in there. There should be a thank you, first of all, right? There should be a link. And I love videos, right? Everybody loves videos. Link to a video or a tip sheet with basic steps to start fundraising and asking other people to register, and a link to tips, right? To really start getting their fundraising started. And definitely a highlighted button that really focuses on getting them into their fundraising dashboard, which most peer-to-peer platforms have, like QGive, where they can go in, personalize their personal fundraising page, their team page if they're a team captain, and then really lay out the tips to help them on all this. And if you have examples, would love to hear that in the chat. Susanna says, we have a document on how to raise $500 without really trying. I'm paraphrasing, but that's the gist of it. And it makes it seem easy. And I love that. That's exactly right. Right. The first thing is getting people to raise, to send out, or ask 3 people, ask 10 people. And once they've done that, and how to raise $500 without really trying. And I love that idea. It's like, it's doable, right? And 500 might seem like a lot to a lot of people, but if you have a title like that that's really catchy, all right, well, you click on that and see how easy this is, and then you put in their suggested messages, texts, emails, texts, social media posts. Provide them with some logos and some sample verbiage and posters, banners, things that they can put in their email signatures while they're in this campaign, that type of thing. Those are really helpful and go a long way, because again, these aren't professional fundraisers, right? Even professional fundraisers quite often have a hard time at making the ask, but definitely folks are just constituents that are participating in your campaigns, either virtual or physical actual events. They're not professional fundraisers. Some of them are going to be great at it, and you should definitely lean into those people. Some of them, the vast majority, are not. They're not going to be comfortable asking their friends and family for money. And if there's a minimum, they quite often will just donate themselves, and that's fine. But give them the tips and the prompts and the nudge to show them how easy it is to make the ask. I like this. How can I raise $250? Here's a good plan to reach a goal of $250. Give $25 to yourself. Ask your significant other to donate $25. Ask 3 close family members to give $40 each. Ask a close friend, 50, or 2 friends, 25 each, and ask 3 coworkers for $10 each. Boom, done. That makes it sound so easy, right? And it is. You just have to ask. They won't all say yes. That's okay. And that's what everybody needs to understand is, it's okay that not everything is going to work. Yeah, Marcy, thank you for sharing that. So again, make it really easy and make that transition from registration, make it clear that that's not the destination, right? Thank you so much for registering. Now onto the fundraising, right? And here's about the event, and here's where the mission is going. This is how it's going to help the mission. So start a new registration email welcome series, and make it very clear that it's not all about asking for money every time, right? One email might encourage registrants to set up their fundraising page. But I've worked with organizations before and they said, well, I only get like 40% of the people actually update their fundraising page. I'm like, okay, but do you care if they actually updated it or not? What you care about is if they fundraised. Then you start talking about $0 fundraisers versus participants, right? So if you're just a $0 fundraiser, you're really a registrant or a participant. If you raise money, then you're a fundraiser, right? And really knowing the difference between the two of those, and really focusing on trying to turn the registrants into fundraisers. But there's only so many times you should ask that, about 3 times, and then say, got it, you're not here to fundraise. Let me tell you a little bit more about the mission and what we're doing. And thank you so much for being here. And maybe here's some volunteer opportunities you might be interested in down the road, or here's another event we're doing, that type of thing. The next email might include steps and templates to help them start fundraising, right? And then really powerful is a video from one of the other participants, a top fundraiser, offering up tips on how they did it, right? For example, and Marcy, if she was a participant in your event, have her, do a short video on her phone, just outlining what she did, and showing the progress. If it's not, it can be a Q&A in an email, but videos are just that much more compelling, right? All right. Again, give them powerful, easy to use tools, right? And when I'm saying tools here, I mean kind of the platform, right? QGive is a great peer-to-peer fundraising tool. Easy event registration, right? Simple yet effective email tools. And when it comes to event registration, is there a registration fee or not? I should have set up a poll to see how many people here are doing $0 registrations. If it's a virtual campaign, I'm assuming it's not a registration fee, but it could be. And even if it's a physical campaign, a lot of walks, 5Ks, even runs, don't have a registration fee. And that's fine. That's great. If your goal is to get advocates to get spread the word and get contact information, you're on your way. But making it easy to help people fundraise is really the goal on these campaigns. And if there isn't a registration fee, I would definitely suggest that you have some other kind of milestone, like raise $50 and get a T-shirt. Don't give out the T-shirt for free necessarily. Make them at least raise $25, $50, whatever it might be. And in some cases, that might be kind of a third rail and something that you can't kind of push in your organization, and that's fine because of your constituents or the perceived constituent feeling out there. But definitely think about that. But either way, the tool should allow for a registration fee, no registration fee, ability to add an additional donation at time of registration, make it easy for folks to send out communications to their friends, update their personal page and their team page if they're a team captain. Gamification, like overall progress meter for the campaign, for the team, for all showing who's on the team, and then individuals and team members and how much they fundraise. All those different progress meters. Add some gamification, hopefully. With milestones like, hey, raise $500, so you get this little badge. Have competitions on there, show off the top 10 teams, the top 10 fundraisers, individuals, that type of thing. Right. And then you go to the kind of expanded view of what else can you do, right? What else can you offer up to make it as easy as possible for folks to raise those monies? And tips and examples, a great one that were already shared in chat. Also, email templates that they can use. Again, email templates, sample text messages, sample social media posts, right? And make it really easy to have people link back to their personal pages. Have them again, sample signature lines to put in their emails if they're allowed to do that at their work. To reach out to their personal pages or their personal emails. And nothing wrong with calling to ask how things are going and thank them for their work, right? That's really easy to say, but we all get wrapped up in the day-to-day and who has time to make these calls. But I would say try to carve out some time in your week just to make some calls to really reach out to folks that are really doing well and maybe some folks that are struggling, or just making sure you have a closer look at your campaigns to find those trends of what's working and what's not. Include videos that top fundraisers, again, sharing their tips, also inspirational stories from someone that's benefited from your mission. Share those stories, right? Provide incentives, again, going back to what I was talking about during the registration flow, an extra nudge to keep people fundraising, and base these on reachable goals, right? And give them something for that. And it doesn't have to be physical swag, but it could be an online gift card. It's a very transactional kind of feel to it, but that could be something, right? A T-shirt for participation if it's a physical event. I think that's the easiest thing to do. There's still a fulfillment process of getting T-shirts made and getting the orders and hopefully having the right sizes and all that, and how many you have left over, and who's actually going to be there on the day. There is that fulfillment piece to it, but especially if you have a $0 fundraising registration, then you should think about holding off the T-shirt until it's an incentive or a milestone for raising a certain amount of money. Uh, it could be another gift, but I'd also argue that, again, it doesn't have to be something physical, it doesn't have to be tangible, but it could be something day of event premium. Like everybody loves premiums these days, right? Everybody, you kind of assume it. You go to a concert, there's always a premium. Can I get that, special section? Or is there VIP parking? So if you fundraise over a certain amount as an individual or a team individual, you get VIP parking, special parking kind of shout out. Maybe it's just a necklace or a special colored T-shirt for raising over a certain amount of money. Maybe teams that are over a certain size, or at least 10-member teams or more, can have a specific team tent with their placard with their name on it and a shout out from stage. Or if they raised over a certain fundraising amount, there might still be a physical dollar amount spent on those incentives, but it's more about the experience and giving people a shout out and highlighting their efforts on the day, right? Acknowledging them. All right, let's talk about 4 ways to improve participant retention now. Oh, I like this other one too. Challenge on social media. Get 10 people to make a $10 gift. Then you have $100 easy, right? And probably more than likely, some of those will give more than $10. And you'll be at 200 or 300 before you know it, right? Okay, so let's move into retention, right? How do you keep people within the campaign to act from actually registration to meeting the goal of actually attending the event if it's a physical event, or fundraising a certain amount, or both, right? Again, I can't beat this drum enough. Make sure it's a really easy registration and check-in process. Not only registration in advance, but think about the day of. This is more about day of physical events. Really make that on event, that day of experience, spectacular. All right, do everything you can to produce the best event you can, so people really feel like, wow, that was impressive. Doesn't have to be a huge blowout and blow all of your funds, your budget on the production of it, but physical events do cost money, and hopefully your sponsorships are covering that. And really want to show people a good time. In this day and age, nothing makes people more frustrated than a long line, right? I live by Disney, so I know long lines. So, make it as easy and to flow through the check-in process. Do pre-check-in. Make it whatever you can do to streamline that process, right? Accept donations on event day, preferably not just checks, but also you can process them online. There's different platforms that can allow for that. There's also third-party tools that integrate with peer-to-peer platforms that can do things via tablets and everything right there. A lot of different options. And then, make sure you provide that data in real time. You have that data in real time, so you can really kind of tweak things and adjust as much as you can on the fly, right? Certain things are just kind of set in stone. But like Mike Tyson famously said, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face, right? So event day punches in the face do happen, hopefully figuratively and not literally. And you have to be able to adjust. And hopefully you can be reviewing your registrations, your check-ins, your donations, and be able to read some things from stage, be able to share that with the staff, and really communicate that openly. So people are, again, feeling acknowledged and seen and heard, and you're providing them the best possible experience. Maybe you can have some type of screen up on the, or some type of display up on the screen at your event, showing real-time donations, text to give kind of thing. Maybe it ties back into your database and you're able to show real live transactions, but all of that really goes a long way to giving people shout outs. Throughout the entire process, always say thank you, right? Um, at registration, at after the event has happened, call out your top fundraisers, your top teams, your top individuals, then call out everybody, right? Don't make people feel lesser than just because all they did was raise $100. That was huge for them, in their minds. Uh, and they should be acknowledged for that, right? Share the numbers, share the thanks, tell them what they're going to be able to, what the organization is going to be able to do with the funds, and then host wrap up events if possible, virtual or in person, and recognize their work and find out more from them. More on that in a second. And then again, recognize them in quarterly and annual newsletters. Make sure it's kind of a year-long cycle of communication. Not always just asking for money, but sharing those stories, those successes, and tell them what the organization is doing based on all the efforts they put in. Right? Communicate the impact. Take every opportunity from the registration all the way through to remind them. As I've been saying. Keep them motivated, right? Continue fundraising after the event. Let them know when it's going to be that event is going to be shut off for fundraising, obviously for registration and fundraising, but also what's next, right? And how can they be engaged without feeling pressured into doing something endlessly with you? Just acknowledge the other opportunities, right? And always listen, right? Provide a survey to ask for feedback during and after the campaign. Host get-togethers, either impromptu, scheduled, in person, virtual, and get feedback. Just listen, right? Make your contact information real easy to find on the website, and be present, be available. I mean, we all have a lot of plates spinning when you're working at nonprofits. You're accidental techies, you're Marcom experts, you're database gurus, you're all these things that you didn't know you were when you first started the job, and you have a lot of things going on, but try to find the time when you can, even if you carve it out on your calendar to make it happen, right? Offer an incentive possibly for people that complete a survey. And again, it doesn't have to be a physical event incentive. It could be, maybe it's a in-kind invite to an upcoming event where usually is a fee involved or whatever. Maybe it's a back of house tour of things at your organization, whatever it might be. That just gets them again more engaged and more involved by doing things like that. Okay. That was me rambling at a rather fast clip for about 45 minutes. So I think that's plenty of that. Thank you for all those folks that did put in the chat. Really appreciate your input and ideas. We have additional resources available on our website, and I believe they're going to be made available during and after this webinar as well. But feel free to reach out, check out our website. We try to do most of our marketing as thought leadership and provide resources versus we're not trying to sell things. Hopefully our services and how we can help you become apparent based on what we do and how we support folks. So there's a lot of great resources. For example, that Building Powerful Email Communications is a rather lengthy document that really goes into the weeds about an entire email communications lifecycle and how to build those out. So hopefully you can, and those are all obviously free of charge. So hopefully you can have a look at those, but also happy to answer any questions folks might have.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Mark. I'm going to launch a quick poll for everyone who's still on here. If you didn't opt in when you initially registered for the webinar, but you'd love to receive more information from Mark and Cathexis Partners, you can fill that out and we'll make sure to get your information over to him. Mark, I loved your emphasis on the registration process, because I can't tell you how many events and different things I've been a part of where you just get so bogged down in trying to understand what's happening, especially with a peer-to-peer event. There's so many details and so many logistics when from the outside, if there's not something clear to help you. I love a good FAQ page. So for anyone who's on here, if you're not linking things in your receipts for your registration, FAQ pages are the best. I live by them for everything. I want to know every detail. And I love when you see questions you had from the year before end up on it the next year. So
That's
that
a
was
great point. And yeah, that's always about building on that, right? You have your FAQ, use that from last year and keep on building on it for sure.
absolutely. I did see a question. Somebody asked if there are any forms of AI or new tools coming to QGive that will help automate personalized messages that will help auto-populate their donor history, i.e., thank you for donating or attending our 2023 event and donating $1,000. We couldn't do without you. I know personalization can take quite a bit of time, so the hope is to continue to personalize while minimizing the time it takes to do so. Yes. So currently with QGive, we have our fundraising content generator. Let me make sure I got that name right. Fundraising content assistant. Sorry, not generator. My bad. So that's going to help you if you enter keywords. That'll help you generate some content. We do like to add the disclaimer when you're using AI, as Mark mentioned, with using images. Always, always, always double check it before you send anything out. I know with photos, you can find, if you search it on Google or anything like that, you can find some funny examples of people with like 10 fingers or random arms popping up in random spots. But the same thing goes when you're generating content. Sometimes you get some weird stuff mixed in. So we heavily recommend you double checking through everything before you're sending it out. So that's available for our peer-to-peer email campaigns right now. With AI, as things develop, we're always looking for new ways that we can integrate it into our offering. So if you do have suggestions, please reach out to the QGive team. They're always looking for feedback. Or if you've used the peer-to-peer email campaigns, fundraising generator keywords, and you've had issues with it or things you liked, our team they want to hear it. They love the feedback. They're always taking it into account as they're planning things out. So please reach out. I did want to ask Mark, I know I've talked to some people with different organizations who do peer-to-peer campaigns. And recently I was talking to someone who was telling me they had, before COVID, they were reaching record numbers for participants. And they were so excited. And then COVID hit. And ever since then, I know we're hitting, 4-year anniversary from COVID now. They're just not seeing the numbers again. So I wondered if this is something you see with the organizations you work with and how you've combated that, if so.
Yeah, it's a great one. Yeah, and I was just at the peer-to-peer professional forum up in Philadelphia. Was it last month? And they talk about that. They list out. If you're not familiar with them, definitely check out them. They're a great resource. They every year put out the top 30 peer-to-peer fundraising campaigns in the U.S. and then also in Canada. And they're always looking at the trends. And one of the things they have been following, obviously, is the registrations going down, but the trends they're seeing is registrations are going down, but fundraising is going up. And you know, there's again looking at the life cycle, you try to get more people to register, but it is what it is. So then the other option is give them great tools and great examples to share so that they can fundraise more. And yeah, that's what it's all about, is just working on both areas. And you're going to be banging your head against the wall a bit when it comes to registration because that's just what everybody's seeing. But then hopefully you'll also see more fundraisers. There's still, don't get me wrong, a lot of $0 fundraisers. And depending on the type of campaign you have, that's just going to be the nature of it. And that's okay. What you could try to do is make that a smaller percentage every year, but there's plenty of organizations that see 40 to 60% of $0 fundraisers or more in some cases, and others make up for it.
Absolutely. And as hopefully as tools continue to develop, it gets easier and easier for people to participate. And post-COVID, as we continue to grow past that time, hopefully we'll see those numbers go up too organically.
Definitely. Yeah, any other thoughts or
Mhm.
questions? And I love that example from Susanna about the 15-year-old who they have pictures of growing up. That's really cool, and I'm sure that really made an impact on social media. Just easy, visual, like before, after, during, and just seeing that stage of growth and how they've been engaged. That's awesome.
Absolutely. If we don't have any other questions or comments, we can give everyone a few minutes back to your day. I know you guys have a lot going with spring event season that you're probably chomping at the bit to get back to. But Mark, I want to thank you again for joining us today and bringing all of that content forward. I know it was great. I learned a lot today, and so I hope everyone else did as well.
And thank you for the opportunity. And thanks everybody, and have a great day.
Well, afternoon, everyone.